All right, thanks, Coach. Valkyries have been off to an awesome start this season. Into the All-Star break, 19-8. They get back underway tonight at 7 o'clock down in Phoenix against the Mercury. And now on 95.7 The Game, we are pleased to be joined by none other than General Manager of the Golden State Valkyries. Ohemaa Nyanin is joining us now live. Evan Giddings, Daryl the Guru Johnson. Ohemaa, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, the entire season's been fun so far, and we know that expectations were pretty high based on the standard that you and this organization set last year. But just kind of take us through the first 27 games from your eyes, from the top, and having put this roster together, having helped this organization so far. What's it been like inside the building, enjoying kind of the fruits of your labor?
Yeah, I would say, three things. First and foremost, it takes a village. Really grateful for the opportunity to work with Mr. Joe Lacob and, his vision for our team. I would say, two, within that village is the staff, Coach Natalie Nakase and her coaching staff, along with Lorena Torres, who's our Director of Performance, and Denise Romero, who's our VP of Basketball Admin. Each of these leaders have put together like an all-star crew of staff members that have been able to do any and everything to support our athletes. And then three, it's the athletes, right? To your point, and putting this squad together in a very short off season, long but short, if that makes sense. They bought in wholeheartedly, and that has been really cool to see flourish in that first half of the season. It's the pride that I have is seeing them become more connected, both on and off court. There's a levity around them. There's a ton of external pressure, as you can imagine, and you wouldn't know it on a day-to-day basis going into practice, and the laser focus that they have from one day to the next.
You guys are on fire. The Bay's on fire. We're all excited. And, you bring in Gabby Williams, and that's been a fantastic move. Can you just speak to what she's brought on and off the court for you guys?
Yeah, I think what she's brought on the court is pretty self-explanatory. How she's been able to build on her game individually from one season to the next is nothing short of amazing. And we knew that was in her, but we hadn't seen it. Off court is what I always lean on, is this very calm, but I would say thoughtful vet presence. She doesn't need to be, the only person doing the thing. It's by committee, and she's very happy to lead, to, be on the bench, to do any and everything to make sure that our team succeeds. And that selflessness doesn't come by every day. And so the combination of how she can play on both ends of the floor, in addition to her selfless attitude, just continues to breed confidence into our whole staff, but the players as well.
Golden State Valkyries General Manager Ohemaa Nyanin joining us here live on 95.7 The Game, and obviously the team has been fantastic. I did want to ask you specifically about the 9-game win streak, and I know it got snapped a little bit before the All-Star break, but what did you feel like the through line was through what now has been the longest win streak in the WNBA by any team? I mean, to kind of catapult yourself into now a tie for second place. There's obviously playoff aspirations, but what do you think the through line was for this squad during what's been the most successful stretch of basketball by any team in the W this season?
Yeah, what I would say, and what I've said from, time, and I will continue to say, is the type of humans that have embraced the Valkyries mentality. I think we're still building. I think the connectedness of our athletes, more specifically, you can tell their attention to detail is bar none. I would say our coaching staff, led by Coach Natalie Nakase, she is someone who only looks at the details, right? Like she's looking at how to get better on a day-to-day basis. And the athletes have embraced that, not as, a nagging head coach that always is asking for excellence, but as, a way to push them to be better individually and collectively.
You are awesome. This is a pleasure to speak to you. And I hope I don't get too personal, but I was reading a quote that you had that I'd like to have you share with the listeners, if you don't mind. And you said, maybe I can change the world through women's sports. And I was like, whoa, I have to ask her, can she elaborate on what you meant by that?
Oh, I appreciate that. The very long story short, I thought I was going to work in international development following my dad's career, and wanted to change the world. Like, that was from a socioeconomic background of really trying to understand how we can make the world a better place. And basketball played a little bit of a part in that. And then now being pivoted into being the general manager of one of the newest teams in the WNBA, how do I shift my focus? How do I shift my goals? It would be trying to create a safe space for athletes to thrive, both in the community in the Bay and on court more specifically. And so, changing the landscape of the WNBA, alongside my staff members and these athletes, I view it as being able to change the world a little bit as well.
Ohemaa Nyanin joining us live on 95.7 The Game, general manager of the Golden State Valkyries. And, this was going to be a major challenge for you taking over an expansion team. But did you know that you would inherit the best environment in the WNBA? And it's not just reflected in the record. I'm talking about Valhalla at Chase Center, 11-4 so far this season. But could you have even expected the kind of reception in year one? And now it feels like it's almost kind of expanded in year two with the amount of energy and just general enthusiasm for this basketball team.
Yeah, it's something that I'll never take for granted. Very candidly, I had no clue. And the blind faith that the fans have in our franchise more specifically has been nothing short of amazing. Like, we do feel internally as a team that we do have the best fans. And I think the rest of the world is trying to, figure that out as well. But our fans they're loud. Tiffany Hayes just put out an article, and if you haven't read it, you should go out and read it in the Players Tribune, and her take on Valhalla, and everybody calling it Valhalla now and not the Chase Center, right? Like, it's not, it is mutually exclusive, but we've created an identity, as a community, that we have the best home court advantage, and we will continue to lean into that.
When I watch the Valkyries play, just watching the coach, Nakase, and her intensity, and forget Johnny Cash. She's in all black, right? And she's fired up, and I just feel like she's a perfectionist. And even when the team's up, she finds ways to challenge them. And I feel like that's why you guys have been so successful. But can you speak to the job she's done and what she means to you all?
Yeah, I mean, she's currently, the reigning coach of the year for a reason, right? Like I said, Coach Nakase is a person who values every possession and is always going to try to find a way to make sure that the athletes get better in game, in practice, through film. She's a person that really is focused in, bringing a championship. And so she doesn't want to take any moment for granted, which I feel like can be exhausting to some, but for her, it's fuel, right? Like, the fuel to be great, the fuel to be consistently great, the fuel to be vulnerable, with our athletes on a day-to-day basis, for them to then buy into the system that she's created. It makes me extremely proud that, we're on this journey together, because she's really been able to showcase leading from the front.
General Manager of the Golden State Valkyries, Ohemaa Nyanin, joining us here on 95.7 The Game. And I want to ask you a little bit about expectations, because by a lot of people, at least outside of the building, I don't want to speak for anyone in, last year you guys exceeded expectations, pardon me. And, with the first expansion team to make the playoffs, you talked about having a tight off season. Like, is it difficult to not rush things when you have immediate success and try to skip steps? What did you look at last season in trying to identify how to get better this year? Because obviously you've taken a leap, but I'm sure it must be difficult sometimes to not try and skip the necessary steps to acquire that success.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think for me, there's a pathway and not allowing for the external noise to seep in, but really be focused on a day-to-day basis as to, what can we do to be better? I think in this off season, what we did really well was be super objective, right? Like, I think it's to be a general manager, to be a leader within an organization. You can always find excuses as to why things didn't work out one way or the other. And what we did was, do a 360 evaluation on pretty much all the decisions that we made in season prior to expansion draft, the first year around, what could we have done better, and then go in through the rest of the season such that when we went into free agency and the draft and, training camp, we were giving ourselves the opportunity to be better.
I had mentioned earlier about Gabby Williams and how awesome that acquisition has been, but you also brought in Kiah Stokes via free agency. She's second in the NBA in blocks, does a lot of things that, go unnoticed. And I'm just wondering, I know you can't give us your secret sauce, but what is that a group effort in regard to identifying players that, are going to fit into the Valkyrie system like those two have?
Absolutely. It's 100% a group effort. We have a scouting department, analytics. Our coaching staff does some scouting in the off season as well. I think, while a lot of people, put every decision on me, and yes, I'm the person that makes the decision at the end of the day, it is a group effort. Kiah Stokes has been somebody who has been coached by Coach Nakase, so she saw how she worked, behind closed doors, and regardless of, her previous experiences, knew what she could bring and was very, focused on how are we going to get better, in the margins. And Kiah took on the assignment, and she's thrived through it. And again, that's something that you can't script, right? When somebody's being given an opportunity, can they thrive? And the amount of work that Kiah puts in behind closed doors, it's really cool to see it shine when the lights are on.
Ohemaa Nyanin joining us here on 95.7 The Game, Golden State Valkyries general manager. And my last one for you, and I'm not, again, asking you to, Gu kind of talked about it, not asking to give away any secrets, but with the WNBA trade deadline coming up in just a few days, what are you, along with the rest of your staff, evaluating at this point, especially on the heels of a 19-8 start and feeling like this could end up being a really special season for you? What sort of things are you evaluating at this point with a bit of an inflection point, if you will, in the season coming up?
Yeah, I think we're evaluating everything, if that makes sense. If any deals are to be made, do we need to do it now, or are we doing it at the end of the season, right, going into free agency next year? It not resting on our being 19-8, but also being very candid about what it is that we focus on internally. I think, August 2nd is coming quick, fast, in a hurry. And what we've done is just continue to evaluate game to game, day to day, practice to practice. Nothing different than what we've been able to do in the past to see if anything materializes.
My dad's, I got to share this with you. He's a big Valkyrie fan, and he's watching the WNBA every night. And I know it's not a competition, but over the weekend, I don't know if you saw this, but I want your thoughts. the All-Star game for the WNBA had more eyes on it than the NBA, and that's not a shot at the league. We love it. But with all the stars in your team, you know, how are you feeling in regard to the popularity about the WNBA? Because I feel like it's taken off.
Yeah, I feel really good. You know, I think being in and around women's basketball for over a decade now, and, you know, in early part of my career, always having to convince people to come out to games, to watch, to do things to make it make sense. And now to have an all-star game in Chicago and have the ratings that it did. And for me personally, the athletes having a great time, right, at the all-star game. It's a little bit of a boost, if you will, mentally, for them to take on the second half of the season. I think it's amazing. Like, I don't want to say anything negative to say, you know, well, duh, we've been doing this, or finally, you know, like everybody's paying attention. I think it's like, you know, in the journey of the WNBA more specifically, there's a lot of people that have given us the opportunity to be where we're at today.
No doubt. Well, hey, Ohemaa, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the success so far last season, so far this season. Good luck at the trade deadline and the remainder of the season. Hope we can catch up soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, holla.
No doubt.
Yeah.
The Golden State Valkyries general manager, Ohemaa Nyanin, joining us on 95.7 The